February 22nd, 2026. Deep in the mountains of Jalisco, Mexico, Mexican special forces quietly moved toward a hidden compound. Inside was one of the most wanted men in the world. For years, authorities across multiple countries had been hunting him. The United States had placed a $15 million bounty on his head. His cartel controlled drug routes across continents and ruled through fear and violence. Many believed he was untouchable. His name was El Mencho, the powerful leader of the Jalisco New Generation Cartel. But every empire eventually faces its end. This is the story of how a former police officer rose from nothing to become one of the most powerful cartel leaders in the world, and how the hunt for him became one of the biggest manhunts in modern history. The making of El Mencho. Before the violence, before the cartel empire, there was just a young man searching for opportunity. In the late 1980s, Nemesio Oseguera Cervantes left Mexico and crossed into the United States. He arrived in California with almost nothing. During the day, he worked long hours as a labourer, taking any job he could find. Construction sites, manual work, long days for little pay. But life in the shadows offered another path. Small drug deals began bringing in faster money, and before long, the law caught up with him. In the early 1990s, authorities arrested him in connection with a heroin trafficking operation. For most people, prison would be the end, but for him, it became a place to learn. Behind bars, he studied how gangs operated and how power was built. When he was finally released, he was deported back to Mexico. He returned with no money and no power. But he carried something far more dangerous: ambition. And soon he would make a decision that changed everything. He became a police officer. After becoming a police officer, Nemesio Oseguera Cervantes learned something few criminals ever understood. He learned how the system worked, how investigations were built, how officers tracked suspects, and how raids were carefully planned. But the badge didn't change his ambitions. Eventually, he left the police force and stepped deeper into the criminal world. Around this time, he met Rosalinda González Valencia. Their relationship would become far more than personal. Rosalinda came from the powerful González Valencia family, a criminal organization known as Los Quines. Through this connection, Oseguera Cervantes gained access to a vast network involved in drug trafficking and money laundering. These alliances helped him expand his influence across Mexico's underworld. Over time, he built strong ties with members of the powerful Sinaloa cartel. But alliances in the cartel world rarely last forever. Tensions between rival groups continued to grow, and soon those conflicts would lead to the creation of a new and far more aggressive cartel. If you're enjoying the story so far, consider subscribing for the next chapter. The birth of a cartel. The fragile alliances inside Mexico's criminal underworld were beginning to fracture. For years, powerful cartels had divided the country's trafficking routes between them, but trust between these groups was never permanent. Around this time, Nemesio Oseguera Cervantes had already built valuable connections through the powerful criminal network known as Los Quines, the family of his partner, Rosalinda González Valencia. Through these ties, he gained access to money, protection, and influence that few outsiders ever received. At the same time, another major criminal organization dominated the drug trade across Mexico, the powerful Sinaloa cartel. For a period, El Mencho worked alongside this network, learning how the drug trade operated at the highest level, from trafficking routes to international smuggling operations. But alliances in the cartel world rarely last. Power struggles began to grow between rival factions. Violence spread across several regions as different groups fought to control territory. Then everything changed. Following the death of cartel leader Ignacio Nacho Coronel, a power vacuum emerged inside the criminal underworld. And out of that chaos, a new force was born. A cartel that would soon become known for its extreme violence, military-style tactics, and rapid expansion. The Jalisco New Generation Cartel. And at its centre was a man who had once worn a police uniform, Nemesio Oseguera Cervantes, El Mencho. Expansion and violence. The rise of the Jalisco New Generation Cartel was fast and brutal. After its formation, the organization moved quickly to take control of key trafficking routes across western Mexico. Under the leadership of Nemesio Oseguera Cervantes, the cartel adopted tactics that shocked even veteran investigators. Heavily armed convoys began appearing across several states. Cartel members carried military-grade weapons and operated with discipline that resembled trained combat units. But their strategy was not only about power, it was also about fear. The cartel released carefully staged videos showing rows of masked gunmen and armoured vehicles. These displays sent a clear message to rivals and authorities alike. A new force had entered the battlefield, and it was determined to dominate the underworld. Within a few years, the Jalisco New Generation Cartel had expanded into multiple regions of Mexico, and with each new territory came more violence and more attention from the government, because now the hunt for El Mencho had truly begun. Early in the morning, on June 26, 2020, the quiet streets of Mexico City were suddenly shattered by gunfire. A convoy of heavily armed attackers ambushed the vehicle of Omar Garcia Harfuch, the city's police chief, near Chapultepec Park. Dozens of gunmen opened fire with military-grade weapons, turning one of the capital's busiest roads into a battlefield. The attack lasted only minutes, but the message was clear. Mexico's criminal war had reached the heart of the capital. Harfuch survived the assault, though several people were killed in the attack. Investigators quickly began searching for those responsible. Many believed the operation had the signature of one powerful organization, the Jalisco New Generation Cartel, led by Nemesio Oseguera Cervantes. But whether directly ordered or not, the attack changed everything. From that moment forward, the hunt for El Mencho intensified. But the story was far from over, because the man who survived this attack would later become one of the key figures leading the hunt for El Mencho. After the attack in Mexico City, pressure on the Jalisco New Generation Cartel began to grow rapidly. Authorities across Mexico intensified their operations, targeting key members of the organization. One of the most significant arrests came when Ruben Oseguera Gonzalez, the son of El Mencho and a senior leader within the cartel, was captured by Mexican security forces. For years, investigators believed he played a crucial role in managing the cartel's operations. Eventually, he was extradited to the United States, where prosecutors accused him of leading major drug trafficking activities connected to the cartel. But even as key figures were captured, the man at the centre of it all remained elusive. El Mencho had become one of the most wanted fugitives in the world. Intelligence agencies began focusing on one strategy: track the people closest to him, because if they could find his inner circle, they might finally find El Mencho. After months of tracking and intelligence work, authorities finally closed in on El Mencho. A joint task force of the Mexican Army, National Guard, and US intelligence coordinated a precision operation in Tapalpa, Jalisco. Every move had been calculated, every angle monitored. On February 22, 2026, the raid struck. Gunfire erupted. Explosions shook the mountains. El Mencho attempted to escape, but the forces were relentless. By the end of the operation, one of the world's most wanted cartel leaders lay dead, marking the end of a violent reign. But his death sparked immediate chaos. Cartel gunmen retaliated across the region. Ambushes and fires erupted, and authorities struggled to contain the waves of violence. His inner circle scattered, the cartel faced unprecedented turmoil, and law enforcement celebrated a hard-fought victory. Even in death, El Mencho's story became a chilling reminder. Empires built on fear can crumble, but their legacy leaves a lasting mark. Follow for the full story behind the rise, the empire, and the fall of El Mencho, one of the world's most notorious cartel leaders.